What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy, and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And in today's episode, I feel like we got a really powerful and uncontainable SCP. And this SCP is SCP-3999. I am at the center of everything that happens to me. So honestly, with that title alone for a name of SCP, I feel like it's going to be a reality bender, which most of the time they're uncontainable because they could bend reality. So that's why I have that assumption with this SCP going into today. So with that all out the way, if you guys are excited for this reaction and you guys like to see more in the future, please remember to smash that like button. It will mean the world. And also smash that sub button, join the family, stay plugged with each and every upload. And to do that efficiently, smash that bell so you always stay plugged right when I drop uploads, because YouTube doesn't always let you know when I post, even if you're subbed. So that's just an extra step to take to catch the heat. So with all out the way, like always, special shout out to SCP Explain Stories and Animation. Without them, they wouldn't make this possible. So without any further ado, let's get this show started. Alrighty, SCP-3999. I am at the center of everything that happens to me. Yo, I feel like this is going to be pretty crazy when I wrap my head around, so I'm coming in gun blazing. Let's go.
Ask yourself a simple question. Is the world around you real? It seems like the answer should be pretty obvious. Of course the world as you know it is real. How else would you be able to interact with it?
Or it's a simulation. That's another video for itself, but you can go both ways with that. You can't just assume that. A lot of people have different beliefs.
Perhaps a better question would be this. How much do you trust that the world you know is real?
Yeah, there you go.
How much do you believe that reality, as you experience it, is constant and cannot be changed by external forces? Now imagine, if you can, an entity to which the very fabric of reality is like clay, able to be shaped and molded at will. Then imagine that this entity, this malicious, twisted, and unknowable horror, has taken a special interest in you.
Uh-oh.
If you can picture such a scenario, then you may as well be standing in the shoes of James Talaran, a Foundation researcher assigned to SCP-3999. Talaran could only have imagined what the Foundation kept contained in an airtight cell all the way at the bottom of a kilometer-long shaft.
Oh, he's contained? He's actually contained? Wow, I'm surprised then. Completely. Let's just keep it going then.
And never expected that this was where his lifeless body would be found. Despite having the entity contained, the Foundation's only knowledge of SCP-3999 came from a text document discovered on Talaran's phone after his demise. Even their own records indicated that no such creature ever existed. Why? What could possibly shape reality in such a way that it could hide its own existence from the Foundation?
This sounds like SCP-055, like the anti-meme, or something similar to it. Wonder if that have any ties together.
And where was it now? The document on Talaran's phone yielded some evidence, seeming to be a long, rambling, and confused account of some sort of battle between a reality-shaping entity and the ill-fated researcher sent to examine it.
Dang, so he is a reality bender. Okay, let's go. I'm still surprised they contained him.
And the ill-fated researcher sent to examine it. Unlike many of the Foundation's documents, the entry for SCP-3999 is riddled with contradictions and strike-throughs. A confusing mess of information that makes piecing together the mysteries of Talaran's fate all the more difficult. Beneath the strange formatting and uncertainty surrounding SCP-3999 lies the tale of one man's torture for the amusement of an impossibly powerful and eternally sadistic creature.
Dang.
Based on the information available, it appears that SCP-3999 was fixated on Talaran. Upon his arrival to the entity's cell,
he was
the
fixated
researcher
on him?
had no idea how long he would spend in the company of SCP-3999.
I thought it was the other way around, because he's the one researching this SCP, not the SCP being fascinated with the researcher. Wow, okay.
Or that he would never emerge alive. Many SCPs contained by the Foundation require their own specially made prisons in order to keep and maintain the safety of Foundation staff as well as the outside world. But imagine if an SCP could turn the tables, bending the world around a single member of the Foundation, using all of reality as their own personalized torture chamber.
Spider?
The list of horrors endured by Talaran is both exhaustive and incomplete, given the length of time he spent with the creature.
Damn.
Shortly after James Talaran was assigned to Site 118, where SCP-3999 was contained, The entity was somehow able to breach containment and began to twist the world around it in the name of a singular, cruel objective, the torture of James Talloran.
Okay, so it makes sense now that it seems like he just got captured because he just didn't want to, get released or escape. He was probably bored because now he just bended reality to escape just to torture this dude. So that's why I was so surprised. Like, how would you even capture a reality bender, at least at this magnitude of how they're representing this SCP to be, by just, by like regular means? It didn't make sense, but now it does. He probably chose to be captured.
The creature, while having no physical description, possessed the capability to cause either a CK-class reality restructuring event or a ZK-class end-of-reality event.
ZK? End of reality?
SCP-3999 was somehow able to both destroy reality itself while simultaneously rebuilding it around its prisoner, Researcher Talloran.
We gotta hear that one more time. He's able to destroy reality itself or build around it by the prisoner that he has. So that is really different from regular reality benders. It seems like he needs someone to attach his new reality to, or he could just destroy reality itself, which is kind of crazy too. But let's hear it one more time. What the heck?
ZK-class reality restructuring event, or a ZK-class end-of-reality event. SCP-3999 was somehow able to both destroy reality itself while simultaneously rebuilding it around its prisoner.
Oh, so he destroys it completely and then builds a new reality around its prisoner. So does that mean through the prisoner's own perception is the new reality and all of us is still, in the old reality? Or is it just because he's the anchor of this new reality? And then within this new reality, we are still within that reality. But at the same time, if something happens to the anchor, which is the doctor, would it crumble and destroy said reality that is created with him being attached to it? I know it might sound kind of confusing because I'm trying to, gather everything in this one reaction. But I feel like that might be the case until we find out more information. But that is a unique twist on a reality bender. Huh.
Researcher Talloran. Every creature, person, and machination that SCP-3999 created was done so with the express intention of making Talaran suffer horribly over the course of millions of years, according to the researcher's own writings. The exact details of how SCP-3999 tortured Talaran are littered throughout the document he was found with, but it is apparent that the entity was able to use its reality-altering abilities to continually revive the man after killing him as a way to prolong his pain.
Thousands of years.
SCP-3999 seemed to be able to use its powers however it pleased, but focused all its attention and actions on causing misery for one man. It simply enjoyed inflicting suffering. One of the examples of the atrocities James Talaran suffered at the mercy of a cold, remorseless creature was witnessing the deaths of others. Although they were constructed and controlled by SCP-3999, Talaran saw trained Foundation security personnel drag 3 people into the cell. He recognized them instantly as his own family. Talaran was made to watch as his mother, father, and sister were executed with a single gunshot to the head by members of the same organization that he was a part of.
This SCP got no chill. Why is he so malicious? And why did he pick this doctor? Like, damn, he's really suffering for real. They weren't capping about that.
All of Talaran's professional colleagues were also killed in front of him, followed by anyone and everyone that had come into contact with James Talaran.
Damn, okay, so is this like the ramifications of the old reality getting destroyed? Or is this prior to the SCP actually destroying reality and attaching the new one to this SCP? Or is this actually the process of him actually doing it now? Oh my god.
Including the O5 Council. He was made to watch as they were systematically murdered one by one, all for the enjoyment of SCP-3999.
The council just got murdered.
At some point during the creature's torture of Talaran,
what the heck?
There appears to have been some attempt to contain SCP-3999 within another SCP, SCP-2432. A room within a hotel now owned by the Foundation that appears to compel its guests to write exaggerated positive reviews after staying there.
What?
When
Oh my
introduced to
god.
SCP-2432, SCP-3999's ability to alter reality seemed to have the effect of creating a dimensional anomaly within the hotel. A crawlspace opened up in SCP-2432, leading to an almost identical room. The
Wow.
front door of this new room, designated SCP-2432-1, led to an alternate dimension that resembled the hotel housing SCP-2432.
Are you kidding me?
The rooms of this new version of the SCP-2432 hotel were a seemingly infinite, endless loop of rooms.
Wow.
This dimension also played host to a number of strange creatures, as uncovered by Foundation research teams that ventured there. Most notably, a creature resembling a male Homo sapien, calling itself Researcher Talloran. This being was dressed in clothing similar to Foundation researchers, and appeared nervous and confused when approached by personnel, only to be executed when asked to be told the location of SCP-3999.
Holy shit.
Later during SCP-3999's 3 million year torture session,
3 million
James
years.
Talaran was interviewed with another doctor working for the Foundation.
They look like brothers.
The interviewing doctor had no recollection of Talaran's assignment to SCP-3999, and both James's involvement with the Foundation and the very existence of SCP-3999 were expunged from...
Why did it say 3998? Do you guys peep that? 3998. And then 4000. Oh, are they talking about like they're just skipping it because they're going to like, destroy the file? That's probably why. Okay. Maybe I'm just losing it. Let me rewind it.
And both James's involvement with the Foundation and the very existence of SCP-3999 were expunged from the Foundation's database.
Okay, yeah, they took the file
As
away.
Talaran desperately tried to rationalize what was happening to him, he told the interviewer, "I have trouble focusing on things now. I just feel a lot of unease. It's like reality has started to feel less real, if that makes sense." Shortly after, he attempted to ask the doctor for his name, and for him to identify which of the Foundation sites they were at. In response, the doctor emitted a strange noise from his mouth, confusing Talaran. "That's not a name. You just made a noise with your mouth," the researcher replied. "Why am I thinking of redactions? How can a word be redacted like that in a normal conversation?" Following this, the floor beneath James Talaran's feet disappeared, and he was swallowed by darkness.
Oh my god.
As SCP-3999 continued bending reality to make him suffer. What followed were multiple failed attempts from Talaran to either escape from the entity or nullify its abilities to warp reality.
That is insane.
SCP-3999 had, at a later point, trapped Talaran in a stage play version of itself. As James frantically tried to escape out of a nearby door, where he hoped to find reality, he was met with a solid wall. "I'm trapped in whatever this place is with this thing, and there's no outside reality anymore," he realized.
So I'm assuming maybe this new reality is only through his own perception. And everyone that is not him will probably think he's going crazy. But there might be another way about it when, he fell through the floor. The other dude fell through as well. So it's really interesting to try to wrap your head around like what's actually going on with this new reality.
Researcher Talloran tried to understand the entity, but SCP-3999 defied description. It was simply chaos. In his desperation, Talaran was able to dig a tiny hole in the floor through which he could see a light, filled with thoughts of his beloved family, his colleagues, and the rest of the world that had once existed. He opened the hole wider.
Not
It's
real.
unclear what happened after this, but it is apparent that James Talaran was still unable to escape SCP-3999. However, as the situations he found himself in grew increasingly strange, James Talaran was able to take greater control of his predicament. This is evidenced in the Foundation's document regarding SCP-3999. Researcher Talloran cannot be contained by this.
Okay.
Researcher Talloran will fight his way back.
Mm-hmm.
Researcher Talloran will recontain SCP-3999.
How though?
This torture had gone on long enough, and researcher James
3
Talaran
million
was determined
years.
to be free of the creature that had taken such sick pleasure in his pain. Talaran at one point was able to subdue SCP-3999, although it is initially unclear how he accomplished this.
Yeah, for real.
There were several attempts made to contain the entity, using a recursive joke, a melon, the graves of American crime novelist Robert B. Parker,
Oh my god.
or an O5 council member, and a roach motel.
By the way, Robert was the one from the afterlife. I'm pretty sure that's the council member that died and came back to life. Pretty sure his name was Robert. Yeah, that's a nice little spin they put there.
To joke, a melon, the graves of American crime novelist Robert B. Parker, or an O5 council member, and a Roach Motel.
Or 5 council members. So yeah, we don't know yet, but
it is believed that every single one of these attempts failed. Attempting to beat the creature at its own game, Talaran tried to turn SCP-3999's reality-altering powers against it by imagining the entity as something easier to subdue.
Okay.
These included several moldy blankets, a murderous penguin, and a pillow. Eventually, Talaran was able to contain SCP-3999 with the aid of 48 trained containment personnel, all of whom were also Researcher Talloran.
Wow.
During this time, a conversation between the two were partially recorded, although any dialogue from SCP-3999 suffered from data corruption. Claiming to finally be in charge and in control of the situation, Talaran interrogated SCP-3999, berating the creature for keeping him prisoner. "You can't frighten me anymore. For the first million years of nonsensical containment procedures and tortures and dream logic, it was the worst pain I had ever felt, but I survived. For the second million years, it was still the hardest thing I had ever done.
Jesus.
But I survived. By the third million years, I was growing numb."
Oh my god.
The researcher tried to ascertain the exact nature and origin of SCP-3999.
He's still dedicated to do all this.
But to no avail. Vowing to fight the entity, Talaran told it, "Here's the thing about horror and weirdness. The more you reveal of it, the less effect it has. I am sick of your horror."
He probably's been through so much, like, is nothing to him now. Like he said, he's getting numb. Like, he's getting to the point where you won't be able to stop him.
"I am sick of you." Afterwards, he was melted into goo for 5 years. It appears that shortly after this, Researcher Talloran managed to understand how to destroy SCP-3999. While the entity was immortal and virtually unstoppable, he realized its weakness, that it had to bond to another being in order to survive.
Yep.
Upon discovering this, Talaran took his own life.
But he will bring you back to life. He already said that he brought you back to life multiple times and keep on punishing you for millions of years,
causing all that SCP-3999 had done to disappear. After Foundation researcher James Talaran committed suicide, reality reverted to its original state before SCP-3999 had heavily altered it.
Wow.
His death freeing reality from the evil entity.
Reality Freedom Powder?
The Foundation remains unaware of what SCP-3999 was, or indeed is.
That doesn't make any sense, though. He brought him back to life. Didn't it state, or am I just hearing things? Is he been in my reality? Because I literally thought he said that the doctor killed himself or he was killing him, and then he brought him back to life to torture him for millions of years. Is it only different because he himself committed suicide? He is the one that cut the tie with the reality that the SCP created?
And one can only guess as to why the entity subjugated Talaran to such terror and horror. What made this powerful reality bender hold such a perverse fixation on one man?
For real.
Some have likened the creature to a horror writer, continually subjugating a character to all manner of nightmares before deciding to redraft and try something new. Whatever it was, SCP-3999 carries with it a warning that reality isn't always as it seems.
I mean, he's right, but I feel like he's, out of all the reality benders that I at least reacted to thus far, I feel like he might be on the same level as, just regular SCPs like Cameron the Crusader. Maybe. He might be probably stronger than him. Honestly, because it seems like his reality bending powers is tied to an individual. So the individual just finds out, like, yo, I am the anchor, which I'm just using for this video. If I cut ties with the reality, then everything goes back to normal. And it's out of this guy's power to change that. Because it seems like he wasn't able to change it, even though he's a reality bender. So that is his weakness. So he's not top tier in reality benders, but it's really unique with how his powers are the way it is. It's not just a generic strong reality bender. He needs an anchor. And the way he goes about torching said anchor is interesting and really cruel. So it's just crazy. I wonder why he's doing that. But anyway, with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this reaction, please remember to smash that like button. Also smash the sub button, join the family, and hit that bell so you can stay plugged with each and every upload. And unfortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one. With